Alright gang, this is a video all about money. It's a video all about our money, the money that we pool together as a bunch of disciples to do the work of Jesus through our little village called St Mark's in Milton Keynes. It follows on from a video all about money, which is linked down in the description below, which was sometime last kind of summer, where I outlined at more length how we deal with money and why we deal with money in the way that we do. If you haven't watched that, stop here, pause, and go back and watch that one, because especially if you've spent time maybe in another church, or you have left a community of faith because of money, then that's a super important thing to watch, because we treat money in a way that I think is Jesus focused and generous focused and light-handed, and it isn't always the way money is treated. So go back and watch that. Next thing to say is I'm going to try and keep this as short and as factual as possible. I am aware, though, that though there are no secrets around the money of St Mark's, it's open and transparent, and you can see the accounts if you want to. You can ask any questions of me or Alex, who's our treasurer, or the trustee team. There are no secrets, and I want to be open and obvious around that. I feel no shame around talking about money, even though it's our money and some of us are English and feel a little bit of reserve about that. I don't feel shame as we do that, but I am aware that sometimes when people like me start talking about money, other people start feeling guilt. And so before we go any further, I just want to say no guilt when we talk about money. Guilt and Jesus don't go together. They're like oil and water, they don't mix. And so it's easy when I talk about money, especially if you're somebody who is able to offer in a different way than finances. You're not able to give money, but you are able to give time or hospitality or tea-making skills or a listening ear. That's what you give into the mix, because the church only runs by the pool of all of our resources, whether that is money, and that's what this video is about, whether it's about time or enthusiasm or service or whatever else. The whole thing only works because of that. But it's easier, particularly around money, to feel guilt because I don't give enough, or I wish I gave more, or everyone else has got more money than me, and all of that. And we all come with a particular load of luggage on our shoulders. So please do not feel guilty at any point whilst watching this. Even if you feel like you could give more, that's okay to feel that, but don't feel guilt from me or from Jesus. And the final little, asterisk, caveat right at the start is I'm very aware that we're all tightening our belts at the moment, and not just because of Christmas overeating. We live in a cultural moment, in a moment where we are all looking at our bills and our outgoing and our incoming and wondering how we're going to make it. And every time you buy a cup of coffee out, you think, flipping heck, that went up since last time I did it. So I'm very aware of that. And just as it's true for you as an individual or you as a bubble, it's true for us as a village. So here we go. So first up, here's a really quick explanation of how our finances are structured. We have one bank account, and all of the money comes into that bank account. That is then separated out, if you like, into separate pots. For instance, if you give money to St Mark's Meals, that money goes into a pot. Whether it's one of us that give, whether it's somebody who does a marathon and raises money, whether it's a donor, whether it's a grant, it doesn't matter. It all goes into that pot. That money can only be spent on St Mark's Meals. We have other similar pots for the Sanctuary Project, for Pray MK, for work with our Syrian family. We have a few different pots where if you give money for that purpose, it can only be spent on that purpose. And that's really important. I can't go and raid the St Mark's Meals pot if we're out of brioche for Sunday and we haven't got any money for it. I can't go and raid it. It's really important that money, and it's all indexed and it's all accounted for, and it's all... there's some really good systems to make sure that that's how it is, and that's important for us, it's important for everybody else who gives, and that's important for the integrity of the organisation. So it's important to say that that's where all the ring-fenced money goes. Everything else goes into a general pot. That's largely what, if you give to St Mark's as a member of the village and you give a percentage of your income each month, that's what your money will probably go into, unless you've said, I want this to go towards St Mark's Meals. It goes to general. General, that's what we'll call it, the general pot, general bucket, that pays for everything else. It pays for me, it pays for the vicarage, it pays for youth work and kids work. It pays for brioche and coffee on a Sunday. It pays for public liability insurance. It pays for venue hire. It pays for fireworks. It pays for waffles. It pays for everything that we do. It pays for petrol for the van. So it pays for kind of some exciting stuff. It pays for some stuff that we need just to operate. It pays for printer ink. It pays for everything that keeps the machine rolling. St. Mark's Meals, just so that we are clear right at the outset, is doing great. Thank you very much. Rachel and Angie, and before them Nina, done an incredible job at turning St. Mark's Meals into a highly respected, well-funded project, if you like, within St. Mark's that is fun. That has lots of people across the city and wider that give each month into it, that has been blessed with lots of grants and gifts from individuals and fundraisers. That is doing fine. That is not at risk at all. We'll be able to carry on feeding hungry children well into the future. The same cannot be said of our general pot. So here are some figures. It's slightly difficult because this is a snapshot, and if I look at the snapshot of the accounts today, then it'll be slightly different tomorrow, and we're waiting for some bills to be paid, and that will change it slightly. But general figures, here we go. Over the last year, every single month, we've spent more money than we've had in. That's how it works when we average it out. It costs us more to do St. Mark's than we're getting in at the moment. So let's look at some figures and see how that plays out. On average, at the moment, it's cost us about £300 a month more to operate than what we've had in. Fortunately, the trustees have done a good job over the last few years of building up some reserves. Only, obviously, we've been eating into those reserves throughout this year and probably a little bit of last year as well. What that means is if we carry on spending at the rate at which we are, those reserves will wind down in 24 months. In 2 years, they'll be completely gone. So you can put it in your diary now. We'll have a carol service in December 2024, and that will be the kind of fire sale and end of and shutdown party. That's the way the reserves work if spending carries on as it is. So over the last year, we've done a whole bunch of things to try and save some money, to change some things, to restructure, to renegotiate insurance, this, that, and the other. But it's currently working out at around that. Now, you might say, 2 years, that's a long time to turn things around, Paul. And it is, you're right, except that there are some other things on the horizon. So let's say, let's keep that kind of ballpark £300 a month loss at the moment. And let's add on some things which we know are coming. For instance, the vicarage. And all the stuff that we do here to pay for the vicarage is going to cost us 10% more this year. That works out at about £100 a month. So let's add that on to the mix. We've now got about £400 a month that we're looking for. We are currently still roughly 30% funded by the regular giving of people who don't live in Milton Keynes and who aren't part of the village, who kind of gave to Laura and I before we started and have continued to do so for now over a decade, many of them. That's incredible. We're 30% funded by these people who believe in what we're doing and needed to give us a leg up and are still committed to doing so. We call them heroes. That's what we called them 10 years ago and we still do now. We lose about 10% of our hero giving each year. Of course we do, because people have other local projects that they want to give to, they have other friends that they want to support, because life happens, because that's fine. And so let's say we lose about 10% this year, as we do most years. That works out at about £100 a month. So let's add that onto the mix. We're now £500. Now, that's the average kind of gift. There's a couple of heroes that give big time. One gives £400 a month, one gives £300 a month. If we lose one of those, then that changes this mix again. But let's go with the average. So we've now got the £300 that we were running low. We've got the extra £100 that we need for the vicarage. We've got the roughly £100 that we would expect to lose from the giving from heroes. So we're now running at £500 a month under. Now this year we've been overspending And what we haven't been doing is hiring venues. We haven't been meeting in an accessible format for anybody to come find us. We've been meeting in homes, which is great, and we love it, and it's all really nice and cozy, but it's super difficult for anybody else to join. And the other people are what drive us, because we have a not a pride, but we're joyful about our culture and our values of creating space around the table for all people to join. But if I can't tell you where to join, where the table is, then that's no good, is it? So we want to be able to be back out in an accessible place where people could find us every once in a while. It changes depending on which the venue is, whether it's the Heritage Lodge or whether it's the Peartree Centre or whatever, but roughly it's about £200 a week is historically what we've paid to rent somewhere else. So let's say we added on £200 a month just to meet somewhere else once, so we could throw a kind of event that would be easy for other people to find us at, and they could decide whether they want to be part of St Mark's. We add that into the mix. You can now see that just to be able to stand still and just be able to kind of keep our head above the parapet in the coming year, we need to find several £100s a month. And if we're not able to do that, then things change that kind of 2-year figure. If we're needing to spend £500 a month more than we're getting in, then we don't last for 2 more years, we last for 1 more year. And so I give this really factual, really stark information to us, because it's up to us to do something with that information. We're going to do 2 things. The first I'll outline now, the second in another video, because this one's already run way too long and you've got stuff to do. The first is the practical, and that's this. I and the team, we're going to keep on looking for ways that we can cut costs. I'll be honest, there aren't that many more we can do, but we're going to keep on looking. We're going to keep on trying to see where we can make some savings. We're going to keep on trying to be wise with the money that we have and getting the very best bang for our buck. There are other little things which maybe you're able to do. If you're one of the people that thank you gives via stewardship, and you've been meaning since I asked you to in whenever it was June time to transfer over to Infuse, now's a great time to do that. It makes absolutely no difference to you apart from 10 minutes of admin. But even if you kept the money at the same that you're able to give, we'd get a little bit more from the gift aid. That'd be great. Maybe you started giving us £10 a month when you joined the church 8 years ago and never reconsidered whether you could up that. Well, maybe now would be a great time to prayerfully consider whether you could up that a little bit. Maybe you have been meaning to think about giving, but haven't got around to it. Gang, now would be a great time to think about that. Those are some practical things that we can do. We're going to try and make some savings. We're going to look at grant avenues. We're going to look at places where we could create a little bit more money. We're going to look at how we could make the money go further. It would be great if we could own it as a village and understand that if we value it, we have to pay for it. That's just the way it works. And so it would be great if, as well as the practical, we could move to the prayer, which I'm going to outline in video 2.